right, Eagles Syndicate family, how are we doing today? We have an NFL mock draft with the Philadelphia Eagles, a full 7-round mock draft. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss when it comes to Philadelphia and their draft needs, but as free agency, the sun kind of sets on that. Boom. So I'm doing the draft through Pro Football Network because, you know, PFF kind of being a little ridiculous out here, but you can see the draft is moving along here. Ted McMillan traded up for. Okay, so we got some trades in here. Tyler Warren. All right. All right. So y'all seeing what I'm seeing here. We're seeing this draft progress here. And can I propose a trade with the Bengals? We're doing this on the fly, so you're going to have to let me know how y'all feel about this. I give you this for that. And I'll include this and this. Rejected. Oh my God. Bro, Howie, we got to put in this work here, Howie. Because I'd love to include Goddard in this deal, because I think Cincinnati would really like that. Is it worth it? Let's make a splash. Rejected. All right. All right, hold on. We'll resume. We're going to try again, though, because y'all seeing what I'm seeing. Pause. Let's trade with the Niners. Let's trade with the Niners. You guys got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do in this draft. And even next year. Boom. Rejected. All right, let's try another trade with the Niners. Because I really want to get up here. Bro, what is this? The mic update. You guys see what I'm seeing, bro. Malachi Starks is available. We gotta pull this off, Howie. 32. I've been given 134. I give you the Jets third. Rejected. Ooh. I feel like the Colts really would be taking Malachi here. I mean, I don't know why the Steelers didn't, if we're being quite frank. We have to make this happen. We have to make this happen. I'm willing to give 96 and 164. Splash! Oh, man, Howie, bro. I'm going to need your skills. What about that and that? And I'll even undo that. Bro, nobody's willing to trade with us. Luther Burden. Listen, this is what a good GM does. We got to be on the phone after each pick. Like, hey, like, can we move up? Can we move up? Can we move up? I mean, at a certain point here, though, we're pretty, like, high up in the draft that, like, come on now. What about for that and that? Well, these teams are being so stingy not wanting to trade with us because we're the defending Super Bowl champs, bro. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm out here trying to wheel and deal like Howie Roseman, and they're just not buying. Bro, nobody's willing to trade with us. But they're all willing to trade with each other. Gotta hit up the Vikings now, because somehow Starks is still on the board. Let me know in the comment section, how much would you guys be willing to give up to get Malachi Starks? Am I giving up too little? Am I giving up too much? Because at the end of the day, I think I'm offering very competitive offers for Starks in this position. 32, you know, I'm not going to give pick 64. But I'll give pick 96. I'll give 96 and 161 and dude, I don't know. Yeah. The dream dies. All right. The dream dies. We tried our best. Let me know if you guys think that the other teams were being out of pocket or what was going on here. I do think we're a potential trade back team, honestly. It's not necessarily fun for mock drafts to do so, so I'm not going to do so. I still think that we should get a safety in the first round, truthfully. I do like Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. That'll probably be the pick here, but it doesn't hurt to at least just kind of go through and take a look at some guys. At the end of the day, I'm not loving the edge rusher value at this point in the draft. I do think Philly should look to go tackle Josh Cornerly Jr., get the Landon Dickerson or the Lane Johnson replacement and have this ready to go. But I don't know if that's a first round pick. I'm not a huge fan of these tight ends. If a Colston Loveland had fallen, I think that's a name to look at. But I think we go Xavier Watts. I think Philly has to go with a safety at this point in time. Well, we talked about this on Tuesday's video. If Philly doesn't bring in a Justin Simmons, the first round need is glaring, and it is safety. However, that's not necessarily what has to happen. If they were to, I just don't believe in Sidney Brown. Truthfully, I just don't believe in Sidney Brown at a very, very high level. As we get back up on the clock here, pick 64. Again, I do think Philly is just a potential trade back team. I don't love these offers specifically, or that offer. Isaiah Bond is an interesting name that's still on the board at the back of the second round. Travion Henderson, the same deal. Philly doesn't exactly need these guys, but I would be aghast if they were there at that point in time. Some of these tackles are okay. I want to take a look at edge rusher. Just because obviously we know Philly. They'll target. I mean, Williams out of Ohio State. An interesting name. D tackle. Yeah, I'm going to go Williams out of Ohio State. I think that's the play. I think Philly needs to draft defense pretty continuously. At the end of the day, that defensive line is still pretty deep, especially with Ojulari and Uche coming in. But, we lose a lot of guys on the line in Williams, Sweat, BG. So Philly will always be replenishing there. Have another guy behind Ajomo to kind of take the Ajomo role there. Philly always will be sure to be deep. I do want to take a tackle with our next pick, potentially. I think picking up a Pitt third for next year, though, I'm going to take that deal. Pitt trades up to get Quinn Ewers. Interesting. Listen, I don't mind getting the third for next year. Now we have 3 thirds for the 2026 draft, plus comp picks that'll be coming in. I think, Philly, their current roster is pretty set, and they don't need rookies to come in and be high impact players right now. And to be able to get another value pick for next year, I'm not opposed to it at all. We come back up here at 123. Pittsburgh wants to trade with us again. I'm not going to take that. I do think a tackle is a position we should take. I would prefer to take a diverse offensive tackle in this spot that could play tackle or guard. I'm not going to pretend that I, know amazingly the deepness of this tackle class, just because it's not super, super deep to begin with, if we're being 100 here. Logan Brown out of Kansas, a name I recognize, a name I'll bring in and just kind of be a backup offensive lineman for Philadelphia. And again, potentially the Lane Johnson replacement. Lane did just sign that extension, but I think similar in a vein to Jason Kelsey, how they drafted Cam Jurgens to be his successor. I think they showed that Lane kind of pick a guy that maybe they want to go to there. Looking at the tight end scheme here, nobody jumps off the page too much to me as a guy that this team should bring in to potentially relieve Dallas Goedert. Again, I think maybe that's a position we target earlier in the draft. I do like Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon. I do think Philly could use a little bit more corner depth, losing Slay, losing Isaiah Rodgers this offseason. It doesn't hurt to bring in a guy. I thought Muhammad was really, really solid at Oregon. A little bit of a personality problem, but Philly has shown an ability to be able to kind of work with guys that maybe have a little bit of personality issues per se. And look at all these picks that we got right here, man. I'm not going to take this one. I do want Luke Leachy, the tight end out of Iowa tight end U. Again, I do think this is a prime trade back spot for Philly. Nobody's offering anything on this pick. Jack Sawyer. I can't imagine he'll actually be available this late, but if he is, I mean, sign me up. And then, yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about. Could trade back, could fill up. I'm going to reject this offer. I'd prefer to get stuff for next year, truthfully. But other than that, let's bring in, I think we could use another linebacker, Kobe King out of Penn State. Not a bad linebacker for Philly to have. Look at Buffalo there. Those picks, Buffalo, Dallas, Seattle, just dominating that stretch of the draft. That's a hilarious. I wonder how much of that was like real trades. It doesn't like that looks like a real. That's in. But yeah, Philly. Again, I think defensive heavy draft. I don't think we're drafting too many defensive starters. I do think the safety that the Eagles will draft should be, the first round pick should be a safety, whether it's Watt, whether it's trading him for Starks like I tried to do. That is what Philly has to do in the first round of the draft. But everything else I think is supplemental and depth pieces, honestly. I think if potentially Starks goes and Colston Loveland is still on the board, I wouldn't be mad at Philly taking tight end round 1. I wouldn't be mad at it. And then maybe that gives you more incentive, more pressure to bring in a Justin Simmons on a 1-year deal because you drafted a Colston Loveland. But at the end of the day, Dallas Goedert, this will be his last year on the Eagles if he plays it out. But I still think it's possible that he's a draft night trade guy. At the end of the day, I really think that that's possible. But again, Philly in their draft, what you're going to see me mock and what should happen is a lot of defense. Some offensive spots, absolutely. I do think bringing in an additional offensive lineman and a tackle that Lane Johnson can shape is the way to go. I do think taking a look at tight end is absolutely the way to go. But I just don't think that this team needs to be focusing on wide receivers, on, running back, on the quarterback. I think we're set where we're at there. You look at this. Okay, so the draft is over. Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame. Felt like a no-brainer pick to me. Coverage safety, can tackle well, need him on the team. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle, Ohio State. We got both him and Sawyer, OSU defensive ends. Again, Sawyer I don't think will actually be there this late, but the defensive end depth is there. Sawyer made that huge play in the Natty for them, but we have to have depth on the D-line. We have to have depth on the D-line. We lost some depth. Got to replenish it. They brought in O'Shea, who I don't even know if he makes the roster, truthfully, if we draft these two defensive linemen. Logan Brown, offensive tackle out of Kansas. Again, bring in a tackle that Lane Johnson can teach. Jabbar Muhammad, the corner out of Oregon. I do expect Philly to target a corner somewhere in this middle round range. I don't think that they're necessarily a starter because I do think Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson will be ahead of them on the depth chart, but this is a guy in Muhammad. I like his size, his physicality. They could bring in tight end U, Jack Sawyer, and then Kobe King, bring in a linebacker. You lost Oren Burks this offseason. Bring in a guy to be third or fourth. But those are my thoughts on what Philly should be doing in the NFL draft. Let me know what picks do you like that I make, that you didn't like that I make. What should Philly be targeting in their first couple picks? And do you think that the trade results on this for me trying to trade up to get Malachi Starks were realistic? Do you think teams will be saying no to us because there's the Super Bowl winning tax? Or do you think that Howie Roseman will pull it off? Let me know all that in the comment section down below. If you love the Philadelphia Eagles and you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that button. I'll catch you next time. Peace.